All right. Well, this time we have the episode Future Imperfect. Now, this is one of those where it's very, very character specific in the episode as aired, but this is one that would actually be very easy to adapt to be not so character specific because while the incidental things that happen in this episode are all things that happen to Riker, if you change the main character to not be Riker, you just fill in different incidental details because the incidental details are just fluff. Yeah, I'll get back to that later. Anyway, so the basic gist of it is that Riker gets transported into what he thinks is the future. It's not. A away mission goes down to the planet Alpha Onius 3 because they're surveying it, I guess. Well, actually, no. A Starfleet survey team had already been there. I'm genuinely not sure what. Let's double check. Read this again. Oh, they detected subspace transmissions from Alpha Onius 3. Someone had come up with the idea that there was a secret Romulan base somewhere in this area, and thus Picard has decided he wants to investigate Alpha Onius 3 as for whether or not it has that secret Romulan base. Which, okay, good plot hook. Now, then they're going around looking in this area. It's like, okay, well, we haven't found anything yet. Oh no, methane gas, run away! Because Alpha Onius 3, while it's technically a Class M planet, technically it does have a breathable atmosphere. However, this breathable atmosphere has a very, very high, for a Class M planet, percentage of volcanic gases, and while it is a breathable atmosphere for most humanoids, it's bad at being a breathable atmosphere. Also, it's near the Romulan neutral zone. Yeah, that's going to be important later. So, Riker gets separated from the rest of the ship and wakes up in what is ostensibly the future. Ooh, like, oh yeah, you got amnesia and you forgot everything that happened over the last few years. The most important few years of your life. Oh, and things are different now. Yeah, this was a fun scene. In case you're wondering who this is, that's actually Picard. Picard is now Admiral Picard and is going to be doing some diplomatic negotiations. Which, as people probably remember about Picard from other episodes, is that Picard doesn't want to become an admiral. He doesn't feel that he's someone who is suited for that level of pencil pushing. And in this episode, he's an admiral. Hmm. Curious. Also, we have a bit of a crew shuffle here. Here we have a Ferengi instead of Wesley. Okay, interesting, but not that strange. A unique badge design that I don't think is seen in any other episode. Here we have Geordi with no implants of any kind. This version of Geordi is apparently 100% human, having had all of his cybernetics removed and replaced with cloned organic tissue. So he has real human eyes now instead of some sort of cybernetic eyes. Now, one thing that comes up in the TNG movies is Geordi having, you know, full mechanical eyeballs, but those are cybernetic eyes, not organic. It does, however, get rid of the awkward limitation of needing to use a external data port on his temples in order to connect to his specs. And of course, here we have Crusher as well. She looks suspiciously normal. Worf in Data's position, which is something I found to be kind of strange because of the fact that Barash seems to have like rotated the crew a bit and didn't just, didn't fully understand the concept of divisions and why divisions on a ship exist. Okay, Data becoming a first officer makes sense. Worf becoming an operations officer when he used to be the security chief doesn't make sense at all. And, Riker quickly picks up on all of this stuff. He, it's like, oh, what's going on? It's like, oh, wait, that guy. Why would that guy be here for a peace treaty? And that's something I kind of suspect that Barash intentionally chose because there's something in this episode that's left unstated, and that I think the episode's screaming hints during the entire episode. I think it's screaming hints, but I'll get back to that later. So basic gist of it is like, oh, we're here for an important peace treaty that is the most important peace treaty in the history of Romulan Federation relations, or something like that. Maybe not the most one, but it's a new step. It's Tomalak. Yeah, Tomalak is back. The guy that attempted to kill Riker and Picard in a previous episode. And he is here as the Romulan ambassador. Tomalak does not seem like a guy who is particularly well suited to be an ambassador based on our previous sightings of him. However, as Romulans go, Tomalak is one of the more talkative ones. He did spend quite a lot of time talking to the crew of the Enterprise in their previous meetings with him. Granted, one of the things that he is famous for having said is that he wanted to destroy the Enterprise and then drag its burned out Hulk back to Romulus as a trophy. Yeah, and that guy's the ambassador who is here to meet with the crew of the Enterprise. That actually gets pulled up in the episode. It's like, wait a second, why is that guy here? The guy who threatened to kill us all. Because again, this is one of those things where the story is about finding incongruities and flaws in the simulation. But like the teaser is the setup. Like, oh, we're going to this planet to investigate things, which that's all real. Okay. The first three acts are the Riker is now captain of the Enterprise fake reality. And you don't get to the end of the Riker is the is the captain of the Enterprise fake reality until the end of Act 3. So, what happens in Act 2? Well, Riker uh, attempts to look up in the ship's computer key moments of his own past. Like he now has a son, except that he doesn't have a wife that's hanging around. He just doesn't. The mother of his son is Min Riker. Lovely lady. Now, if you look closely here, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Nine birthday candles on a cake. Presumably this was for his son, um, Jean-Luc Riker. Yeah, I know. Jean-Luc, as in Jean-Luc Picard. Because Barash was terrible at thinking up names. Now, Riker did, when discussing Minuet, mention that Minuet was the most real hologram he'd ever seen. And while the Binars didn't know exactly what happened, it her existence was in some way due to the Binars optimizing the computer systems on the Enterprise. The exact specifics of how that resulted in Minuet's creation, we don't know, but the Binars did actually use Minuet to trap Picard and Riker on the bridge of the Enterprise, or holodeck of the Enterprise, anyways. So Minuet was a creation of the Binars. We don't know exactly how, but whatever. Um, so Min Riker being based on Minuet is, a red herring because Riker's like, yeah, she's not real. Now, what's notable here is that this is Carolyn McCormick in a costume that is, and it's not actually stock footage of her playing Minuet because as Minuet, she had floofy hair, and you can't just crop that out. This is actually, it's possible that this is just like what Carolyn McCormick would normally have her hair worn as, and not actually like a complicated costume. Because as you see here, it's like she's just wearing you know, a future space bodysuit, and that's it. Because again, this is actually just a still photo roll. They actually had Carolyn McCormick come back, do a picture of her, make a picture of her so they can have a file photo that Riker looks at, because she doesn't actually appear in person in the episode. Ah, it was a very nice touch that they actually got her to do it, though. Okay, so Luke Riker. This is another thing. It's like I kind of nine cake candles in the birthday cake. How old is he supposed to be? Well, obviously this was a one of the aliases that Barash was using as part of the simulation. Now, trying to figure out exactly when he was supposed to be. His mother, Min, died in a shuttle accident when he was 8 years old. Remember how I counted 9 candles on that birthday cake? Yeah. Again, the whole thing with Barash is that Barash isn't meticulously, personally error checking everything. He's using a computer to create a holographic simulation, but Barash doesn't actually fully understand the information being collected by the computer, so he can't proofread the simulation. So there's all these errors that crop in where it's things that are, I mean, the simulation is working right. It's that the simulation isn't fully based on reality. Anyways, though, so yeah, it's like the idea that Min died when Jean-Luc Riker was still only 8, and then you see a file photo of Min holding a birthday cake with 9 candles on it. It's like, wait a second. Although to be fair, we don't know why Min is supposed to be posed with a cake with birthday candles, but I mean, still seems rather strange. Why would he even choose a picture of a birthday cake? Anyways, so now another thing here is that the whole thing with Tomalak talks about Nirvana 3. And while it's not actually critical to this episode, I found the map of the Nelvana system to be personally interesting. It's like Nelvana 3 is, reasonably, and Nelvana 4 are presumably this would be the habitability zone for this system. Then you have an outer planet that's rather cold, an inner planet that's too hot, and then you have this thing, Nelvana 1. This planet's equivalent of Mercury has a highly elliptical orbit. Hmm, interesting. Now, in real life, if this was orbiting sideways, so that like the other four planets form a plane and it orbits perpendicular to this plane, that would actually be a stable orbit. Not sure what the orbital inclination of this is, though. Hmm. This orbit here would seem to be highly unstable because it's literally crossing the orbits of every other planet in the system. So every time it goes through, it's probably going to get gravitationally perturbed at least a little bit by one of the other planets. Uh, Whatever. It's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, huh, this is interesting. Yes, I would like to know more. And honestly, that's something that's great to throw into TTRPGs. It's like maybe possibly the highly elliptical orbit is a plot point. Maybe it's not. Now, for this particular story, this is actually not even in the story. This was from the other episode involving the Nelvana system. But, I thought it was neat to talk about. Now, going back to the story. Oh, yeah, she's barely in this. She's one of the people that helps Crusher at some point in the episode. Alpha Onius 3. This is actually where most of the story takes place. Now, after the first simulation gets revealed to be a fake, it shifts to a different scenario with Tomalak having Riker as his prisoner and trying to use mental manipulation technology to uh, uh, coax Riker into giving away secrets that were otherwise um, impossible for the Romulans to acquire. Which point Riker's like, yes, but if you're using technology to read my memories, why can't you just read the information you want out of my memories? At which point Tomalak's like, well, it doesn't work quite that precisely, or something like that. Again, though, this quickly gets revealed as a scam because of the fact that, well, see, this is Act 4, and there's only 5 acts of this one. Act 4 is when Riker figures out that the second simulation is also a scam because of the fact that we have a person who should not know anything about the second simulation, or first simulation rather, using information from the first simulation because he doesn't actually know what the characters are in real life. Yeah, the whole thing with calling Tomalak an ambassador. Hmm. Tomalak is only an ambassador in the first simulation. And, well, there is the possibility that had Andreas Katsulas not died in real life, that they might have brought Tomalak back for a more diplomatic role in a later season. Um, they never did. All of the episodes with Tomalak are him as a frontline captain who is the kind of guy who spends most of his time killing enemies of the Romulan Star Empire. Then we have the big reveal. The reality is that Riker is in a cave with this guy, Barash. Yeah, I've used that name several times already. Well, his species was apparently had their home planet obliterated by some other race. His mother had taken him and as much advanced tech as she could get off the planet to this planet, and built a hidey hole for him to live in, giving him a simulation of a daily life and computers that can give him food or something. This is an alien race that is never seen in any other episode because of the fact that Barash is supposedly the only known member of the race left. Which, yeah, sucks to be him. Also, the technology used here is esoteric by Federation standards, but while the specifics of how the technology works are considered unusual by the Federation, it's kind of telling when Tomalak in the second simulation tells Riker's like, "Oh yeah, we were reading your mind with our mind probes," and Riker's like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah. If that's true, then why didn't you get the information you were looking for?" As if the idea of computer mind probes were something Riker's like, "Yeah, heard that before. What else you got?" So yeah, it's like the whole idea of like computers that can read your mind isn't a foreign concept to the Federation. It was actually a major plot point in several previous episodes. More in TOS than TNG, but again, that seems to be because of the fact that they have Deanna Troy doing other forms of telepathy in TNG, and that thus the writers focused on organic methods of mind reading over automated methods of mind reading. But whatever. Automated mind reading, totally a thing in Star Trek. Well, like this isn't even the only time it happens to Riker. In the portal thing, uh, Portal 63, I think it was. It's like uh, where it's the Takan portal. Yeah, the Takan portal is able to read Riker's mind. It's like, ah, yes, Sun Tzu. That was a wise man. Because the portal read Riker's memory of Sun Tzu's writings. Uh, yeah, again, mind reading computers, totally a thing in Star Trek. Weird non-humanoid aliens are also totally a thing in Star Trek. Now, what I was getting at earlier when I was saying that Romulans were somehow very important to this guy, it is not stated what race actually obliterated Barash's homeworld. Now, noteworthy that this is actually what Barash had to say about it, so it's not entirely clear if all of these details are actually 100% true. Barash and his mother might not be the only survivors. Also, we don't really know a whole lot about the whole incident at all because, again, we never see the invaders. Also, it says sometime prior to 2360, or well, sometime prior to the episode. It doesn't actually say in the episode how long it's been since he's been there. Also, why are the invaders trying to completely eradicate the members of this race? We don't know. Although, we do have the ability to make a few guesses. Okay, so the hints we do have here is that this technology that Barash's race has for reading people's memories doesn't seem to be something that was particularly heavily controlled on their planet, or Barash's mother was one of the handful of people who had access to it. One of those two. Also, we do know that Barash's homeworld was somewhere near the Romulan neutral zone. Yeah, near or in. Actually, if it's near the Romulan neutral zone, it might be on the other side of the Romulan neutral zone. on the current star charts. Yeah, like I said before, it's like Barash seems to be obsessed with Romulans. Like seriously. Simulation 1, you have Tomalak as a Romulan ambassador that the Federation is here to negotiate with as part of a long-term peace treaty. Simulation 2, Tomalak is uh, someone who captured Riker because he's trying to steal secrets onto the Federation defensive network. Both simulations were Riker interacting with Romulans. Why? My personal guess is that it was the Romulans who attacked the homeworld of Barash's race. Because good, it's possible that it was some other race, but the fact that Barash is so obsessed with Romulans, it yeah, A plus B equals C kind of logic, you know. And also Romulans getting deciding that they want to obliterate another race's homeworld would actually kind of make sense if they, based on the way we've seen Romulans react in the past. Is that this is a non-humanoid race that they probably wouldn't be all that interested in having as a servant race. It's a race that has relevant technology, clearly, because the fact that that the holographic systems that Riker is in were built by Barash's race, and the computer that telepathically reads your mind and programs a simulation based on your memories. Also, technology possessed by that race. Now, Tomalek in the second simulation may have actually hinted at the reason why the Romulans decided to invade them is that these mind scanning devices are actually quite powerful and can find secrets that people don't want to be uh, public. And it's possible that Romulan visitors to their planet had their minds scanned for reasons that the locals consider to be trivial and inconsequential. And the Romulans are like, "How dare you invade my private life?" And then they decide to fight a war about it. It's a plausible story. I can't say that there's any proof of this, but it does fit with what we know of the Romulans from other episodes. They're not going to be just kill them at the drop of a hat. They're not going to be like, ah, yes, here's another home species' planet to invade and annihilate. No, that's not how Romulans do it. They have reasons for annihilating you. What those reasons are is entirely based in Romulan logic, but in this case, the Romulan logic would seem to be that these were a race that had the ability to steal Romulan secrets, and they didn't like that. Also, is it possible that that Barash's race pulled a similar trick on the Romulans at some point in the past? We don't know. It's one of those tantalizing backstory things, and that would be something that'd be very fun to examine in a TTRPG. Because the fact that, like I was saying earlier, is that there is nothing about this that requires it to be a single character experiencing the simulation. You could have an entire team of characters experiencing the simulation. Like in the episode, they mentioned that there was an away team from the Enterprise D uh, examining ONIS 3, and only Riker actually got left behind when the methane gas flooded the cave. Well, you could have had the entire away team left behind so that everyone is experiencing the simulation. Now, realistically, that would result in you finding the flaws in the simulation faster. Not that it took Riker all that long, but still. Even have players argue over whether something actually counts as a flaw in the simulation, like the Ferengi guy on the bridge. Oh, I closed that picture. Whatever. Like, um, how unlikely is it actually to have a Ferengi ensign on a Federation starship for in a time period that's set 16 years in the future? Hmm, hard to say. Because again, it's like the Ferengi are antagonistic to the Federation, but not to a degree that it's like endless warfare. Hmm. Dee, 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 dee. Oh yeah, there's several things about this that get reused in later things. It's like at some point here, there's a female Klingon uh, as a background character, just like shows up for a few seconds as one of Riker's crew. Mm, several other things is like Riker eventually but does become a captain. That was like heavily foreshadowed in the opening episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. When because like the first episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation has Riker coming on board the Enterprise D for the first time, and Riker gets quizzed by Picard on why he doesn't already have his own command. It's like, yes, you're a highly qualified first officer. Too qualified. What's wrong with you? Eh. Oh yes, and that was a recurring plot element in the Next Generation. Is Riker is a first officer who is overqualified and should have already been promoted. Um, Now, the idea that Picard would be having diplomatic contacts with the Romulans absolutely makes sense. Picard becoming an admiral, no, but Picard diplomatically negotiating with the Romulans absolutely makes sense. Although, non-canon material did actually have Picard get promoted in 2381. Whatever. Oh, right. Okay, they did actually have. Okay, I guess that is like technically canon, because like TNG didn't end with Picard retiring. Even in the movies, Picard's still a captain on the Enterprise, although it switches from Enterprise D to Enterprise E. But whatever. Apparently, he did actually become a admiral off screen and trying to deal with the Hobus disaster. Hmm. Oh yeah, Troy appears in standard uniform. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Um. Yes, Star Trek Generation parallels. They reuse this combadge design, and also they have the an integrated rank insignia into the combadge design. Um. Hmm. Anyway, though. Yeah. Oh, here's something that's interesting. Yeah. Nope. Nothing else out of the ordinary here. Yeah. So yeah, it's like this was an episode that I guess you could say chewed on the scenery. It's like, oh, we've established an in-universe history. Now, what happens if we challenge your ability to remember what our actual in-universe history really is? Mwahahaha. That was actually really fun. That was a great way of handling it, in my opinion, because of the fact that they pulled in so many things from previous episodes where you, the viewer, would actually legitimately have reason to be like, that doesn't look right. Hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's not right. Tomalak is acting pretty cool though. Anyway, so to wrap up, the idea of having your away team get captured and stuck in some sort of simulation that's designed to trick them into doing things that someone is going to steal and use later. Yeah, yeah, that's an idea. Or, whatever that whole thing with Barash is. It's like the Barash is really just bored. He doesn't actually have any superpowers, apparently. But his ability to use the computers in his base is quite significant because the visitors can't command the computer to do anything. Barash is controlling the whole thing. Anyway, though, alrighty then. Well, I guess I'll call that here. Simulation episodes, especially when you actually have a bite to the simulation, that's when it gets good. Oh yeah, that thing about the combadge. Look at the Ferengi's here. One bar at the top. Just one. Riker has four. Like these are like they're the other ones are there, but they're kind of like different color, like gray or something. Alrighty then. Well, I guess I'll end it here. This one's already